Hello, everyone. Very good morning, good afternoon, good evening, from whichever part you're joining us from. Firstly, welcome back to our channel, King Size Commercial Real Estate. And thank you all for joining. Today, we have a very interesting topic, in fact, a very important topic, rents in commercial real estate. So, when a lease is signed, the primary purpose of the lease is to provide income to the landlord in form of rents. So today we decided to take up this important topic and just run through it. So let me get my highlighters on. Okay. So today we will be covering its definition, types, and factor influencing the rent determination. If you have any questions, drop it in the chat box or drop it in the comment section, which part needs to be explained or if something is not clear, and we'll take it up in the next presentation. Okay. So without any further ado, let's get started. So first thing first, what is rent? A rent in commercial real estate is like paying for using a space for your business, just like you pay to live in a house. When a business wants to use a place to work, like an office, a store, a restaurant, they agree to pay a certain amount of money to the owner of that place. This payment is called rent. It's how businesses get to use the place without actually needing to buy it. A lease must contain a covenant by the tenant to pay the rent. So we have significance of rent in commercial real estate. We have economic implications, property valuation and investment, leveraging asset, and market demand and supply. Let's go step by step. So first is economic implications. So economic implication means understanding how things are working in the economy can affect commercial real estate. For example, if the economy is doing well, more businesses might open up, leading to higher demand for places to work. On the other hand, if the economy is not doing so well, businesses might struggle and there could be less demand for space. The next is property valuation and investment. Property valuation is like figuring out how much a commercial property is worth. People who want to invest in commercial real estate try to buy property at a good price and then sell it off at a better price later. It's like buying a share of a good company in a bearish market and then selling it off in a upwards bullish market and making a profit out of it. Third is leveraging assets. So leveraging asset means using something valuable you own to get more of something else. So in commercial real estate, it's like using property you own as a way to get money from something else, like expanding your business. And the last is market demand and supply. Imagine lots of your friends want a specific type of watch, but there are only few available, and that is high demand and low supply. Similarly, in commercial real estate, if businesses want to rent a space, but there are not available spaces, and that's the reason the rent of those spaces might go up. It's all about how people want something versus how much it is available. So in simple terms, economic implication means how the economy affects a real estate. Property valuation is finding out how much the property is worth. Leveraging asset is using something valuable to get more, while market demand and supply is about how much people want of something versus how much it is around. So factors influencing rent determination. First is location and accessibility. So this is all about where the property is and how easy it is to get to. If the property is in a busy area where lots of people go, like park or shopping center, the rent might be higher, just like how a toy might cost more if it is really popular or everyone wants it. The next is property characteristics. This means that what the property looks like and what it can be used for. If a property is big, has nice features or is in a good shape, it might cost more rent. The third is rent profile and use. So this is about who will be using the property or what they will do there. If a business wants to be used for something like that brings lots of customer, like for example a restaurant or a store, the rent might be higher. Economic climate, this is how well the economy is doing. If more businesses are opening and doing well, they might be willing to pay higher rent for space. But if the economy isn't doing great, the businesses are struggling, they might not want to pay as much. And the last is legislative and regulatory framework. So this is about the rules and laws that affect the property. If there are strict rules about what you can do with the property, or if the taxes that needs to be paid, it could influence the rent. So just to make it in a simple terms, when deciding how much rent a commercial property should have, location and accessibility matters because popular places might cost higher. Property characteristics is like how nice it is, how can affect the price, or who will buy the property, who will use the property, what they will do, what they will do plays a big important role here. The economy's health can change how much businesses are willing to pay, and rules and laws about the property also have a bigger impact on rent. So let's talk about different types of commercial real estate rent. So first is gross lease, also known as full service lease. So a gross lease is a bit like all-inclusive deal for renting a place, similar to when you go for a vacation and book a hotel room that covers everything. Similarly, in a gross lease, the rent you pay usually includes all the expenses like electricity, water, and sometimes even the maintenance. So how it works? When you sign a gross lease, you agree to pay a fixed amount of rent each month. But unlike other types of leases, you don't have to worry about the extra cost for things like keeping the lights or fixing a broken pipe or anything in the maintenance part. All those expenses are usually covered by the landlord. It's like checking into a hotel room and not worrying about the electricity bill or cleaning fee. It's all taken care of. So why this kind of leases are important? So gross leases can be really convenient for renters because you know exactly how much you need to pay each month, and you don't have to deal with a surprise bill, utility or repairs. It helps with budgeting because your expenses are predictable. So in a simple term, a gross lease is like renting a place where the rent covers most of the cost, making it easier to manage your budget and focus on what you do the best, whatever that's living or working. So up next is net lease. A net lease is a bit different from a regular lease, kind of like customizing your deal when you're renting a place. So in a net lease, you have to pay not just the rent, but also some extra cost like property taxes, insurance, or maintenance fees. How does it work? When you sign a net lease, you and the landlord agree on who is going to pay for a certain extra thing on top of the rent. This extra cost can include stuff like uh, taxes, insurance, or keeping the place in a good shape. However, there are different types of net leases, single net, double net, or even triple net, and they determine which extra cost you are responsible for. So why this is important? Net leases are important because they let both renters and the landlord customize their arrangements. If you are a business renting a place, a net lease might mean you pay a lower base rent, but you are responsible for some extra cost. This can be good because you have more control over things and how they are maintained, and you might even save money in the long run. And on the other hand, for landlords, net leases help them to share financial responsibilities with their renters. So just to summarize in a simple term, a net lease is like agreeing to pay more than just the rent, but it gives you the flexibility to decide how you'll share the extra cost with your landlord. It's bit like designing your own rental plan to fit your needs. So next is percentage lease. A percentage lease is kind of like sharing in the success of the business when you're renting a place. So it's a special type of lease where on the top of base rent, you agree to pay part of the money you make out of your business to the landlord. And how does it work? So when you sign a percentage lease, you agree to pay a certain percentage of your business's sales or profit to the landlord in addition to the base rent. So this is usually a way to share your success of your business. So if your business does well and make more money, the landlord gets a little more, and if the business is slower, you might pay less. So why this kind of leases are important? Percentage leases can be important for both renters and the landlords. For businesses, it means you're not paying a fixed rent, no matter how well you're doing. Instead, you share the cost with the landlord, which can be helpful during the tough times. And many businesses might have experienced this during the pandemic. For landlords, it's a way to benefit from the businesses renting their space are doing well. If the businesses are doing well, the landlords can expect a higher rents. So it's like a partners in success. So just to summarize in simple terms, a percentage lease is like renting a place where you agree to give landlord a part of your business's money on top of the rent. It's similar to celebrating your business success together, landlord and the tenant. Graduated leases. So a graduated lease is also known as index leases. A graduated lease is bit like planning for future when you're renting a place. It's like a special lease where your rent goes up by set amount after a certain period of time. This helps you plan or prepare for higher cost as the time goes on. So how does it work? When you sign a graduated lease, you and the landlord agree that your rent will increase by a certain amount after a specific time, like every year or every 2 years. This means you start with a lower rent, and as time passes, it gradually gets higher. It is a bit like now, paying little more later and starting with a lower amount. So why this is important? Graduated leases can be important for renters because they help you budget for the future. Instead of suddenly facing a big jump in rent, you know in advance that it will increase by a certain amount each year. This lets you plan for higher cost and make sure you're prepared. On the other hand, for landlords, it helps them to adjust the rent according to the inflation and changing costs over time. So to summarize, a graduated lease is agreeing to pay a little more for the place you are renting as time goes by. It's a way to make sure you're ready for increasing costs and changes in the future. So next is ground lease. So a ground lease is kind of like borrowing a piece of land to build something on it. So it's a special type of lease where you just rent the land itself and you build whatever on top of it. However, a key point here is the landowner keeps the ownership of the land while you use it. So how does it work? So when you have a ground lease, you pay the landowner for the right to use their land. You can build a house, a store, office on the land. But even though you build stuff on it, the land still belongs to the owner. So why is it important? A ground lease can be important because they allow people to use the land without having to buy it. This can be useful for businesses that want to set up in a prime location without having a big cost of buying the land outright. The landowner also benefits by getting a regular income from rent, and still keep the ownership of the land. So just in a simple term, a ground lease is like renting just the land for using it for building things. The land, however, the land stays owned by someone, the landowner, and you get to use it for your projects. So it's a way to use a valuable land without having to buy it. So next up is index lease. So index lease is a bit like having a flexible rent that changes based on how prices around in the world are changing. So it is a special type of lease where the rent might go up or down every once in a while, depending on certain index, which is a special way of measuring how cost changes. How does it work? So when you sign an index lease, you and your landlord agree that your rent will change based on an index. An index is a way to see if the prices are going up or down. So for example, if the index goes up, your rent might increase. And similarly, if the index goes down, your rent might decrease. It's a bit like adjusting how much you pay based on whether the prices of things around you are going up or down. So index leases are important because they help you keep your rent in line with changing costs around you. So just in a simple terms, an index lease is like having the rent that can go up or down based on how prices change. It is it is a way to make sure that your rent stays fair even if things around you get more expensive. So next is hybrid lease. Hybrid lease is kind of like mixing different ideas and create a rental agreement that suits both tenant and the landlord. It's unique type of lease that combines features from different types of leases to find a balance that works for everyone. Uh, and how it works, so when you have a hybrid lease, you're not sticking just to one type of lease. Instead, you are combining different type of leases to create your own custom arrangements. For example, you might take elements from a gross lease where most of the costs are covered and mix them with a net lease where you share some expenses. It's like creating your own special lease with different arrangements. Hybrid lease are important because they allow both renters and the landlords to find a balance that fits their needs. Maybe the tenant wants to share in some cost and also wants some predictability in their expenses. So just to summarize it, a hybrid lease is like creating a special rental deal by taking parts from different types of leases. It is way to find a good balance. It is a way to find a good balance between the needs of the renters and the landlords, making sure both the sides, of course, making sure both the sides, landlord and the tenant, are happy with the arrangements. So coming towards the end of the presentation, and the last topic is factors influencing lease type selection. So first is nature of business. So this is about what kind of work the business does. If a business needs a stable place to work and doesn't worry about the extra costs, they might prefer a gross lease. But if they are okay with sharing some expense and want a chance to make more money, a percentage or a net lease could be better. The next is financial goals of landlord and tenant. Both landlords and the tenant have financial goals. So if a landlord wants a steady income and doesn't want to deal with the extra expense, they might prefer a gross lease. However, on the other hand, if a tenant wants to save a rent share or save the rent or share a cost, they might lean towards net lease. So it is like making sure money you earn and spend aligns with your goals. The next is property characteristics and location. As you know, different properties have different features and are in various locations. If a property is in a busy area, the rent might be higher. So the businesses that might prefer a net lease, they can potentially make more money. If a property is easy to maintain, a gross lease could work well for both sides. It's like picking up a toy based on what you like and where you want to play it. The last is market condition and trends. So this is about what's happening in the real estate world. If lots of businesses are doing well and can afford higher rents, landlords might go for a net or percentage lease to benefit from the success. On the other hand, if things are uncertain, a gross lease might be more appealing for stability. So just in a simple terms, think about what the business does and what you're comfortable with. Consider what property owners and you want financially. Look look at where the property is and what it is like. Pay attention to how the real estate market is doing and what's trending at that moment. So so we come to the end of the presentation. The understanding of these type of leases is essential for navigating the complex world of commercial real estate and creating a balance and mutually beneficial for property relationship. So if you found this video valuable, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more insightful real estate content. If you have any questions or want to share your experience, leave a comment down below. We would love to hear this. So until then, happy investing and take care.